Welcome to the Vibrant Visibility Podcast. Being visible as a soul-led business owner isn't just about the practical strategies, marketing tips, and tech systems. It's also about the internal systems, the safety of your nervous system, the somatic connection, and the embodiment of being a badass CEO that will support you in all of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And I'm here to share all of that with you on this show. I'm your host, Shawnee Arsenault, a registered nurse turned visibility coach and business mentor for heart-centered coaches and healers. I created a six-figure coaching practice in my first year of business and scaled to multiple six figures my second year, all in the middle of getting pregnant with my first baby and becoming a new mama. If I can do this entrepreneurship thing, I know you can too. If you're ready to learn how to be a CEO in a way that feels aligned with your heart, become a lighthouse for the people that you're meant to serve, feel free to authentically express yourself and be a magnet for success, and grow your coaching business in a way that is sustainable and fulfilling, I can't wait to be in your ear along for the ride. Hi, everybody. I'm super excited about today, and I'm hoping this was going to be very helpful for you guys, because I know that content creation is like this topic that I get asked about a lot, that people get very overwhelmed with. I want this to be very tangible. You're going to hopefully walk away with a process that you specifically can follow, that's individualized to the way that your brain works and the way that you want to make content for your business. So if you're not driving or anything like that and you have a piece of paper and a pen or something to write with, we're going to kind of outline your process, your system together. And I'm just going to kind of go through 10 different topics, 10 different, I guess you could call them steps. And we can kind of brainstorm what system for that particular part of the content creation process you're going to commit to, or what makes the most sense for you. Before we get started, I'd love to get a sense of what the biggest area of overwhelm is for you whenever it comes to content creation. So is it the creation of it? Is it the systems? Is it the organization piece? Is it the I don't know what to write about, or I don't know what to post about? Is it the filming piece? Where do you guys feel the most overwhelmed whenever it comes to creating content for your business? And just throw that on your paper for me. Love it. So the first step is, a lot of people think it's the scheduling, it's the strategy, it's what schedule do I follow? And I don't think that's the most important part at all. I mean, yes, it's important, but I also think that the most important part is capturing the ideas and the inspiration. So having a system to capture your ideas and your inspiration whenever they hit. Because if you sit there and you put on your schedule that you're going to create content for your business and you have no ideas saved, and you have to sit there and come up with something fresh and new without any kind of prompting or without any kind of remembrance of an idea you had last week or something like that you never did anything with, it takes a lot more energy and it takes a lot more time to do that, to do it that way, and do the entire creation process in one sitting. So you want to have some kind of process for capturing ideas and inspiration. I'll kind of give an example of a few things that I do to capture ideas. So for me, I use the Notes app on my phone to capture any kind of immediate thoughts. And I make it as easy as possible for me to access that note with all of my thoughts. So I have a shortcut on my phone that if I click the shortcut, it brings me immediately to that particular note with all of my ideas. And then I just have a little checkbox of I've done this one, I've executed this one already. But I have a note on my phone for captions and real ideas. On the actual Instagram app itself, because I do a lot of content on Instagram, you can actually save you can save reels and posts from other people into different folders and collections. So I have one for IG inspiration, reels inspiration. And then if I come across a reel or post that I like or want to model, I save it to that collection. Or if I already have a very specific thing that I want to model or do from that inspiration, I will DM it to myself. I'll DM myself the reel and I'll message myself what I like about it. Like if somebody does a really cool transition, like, ooh, I want to do a transition just like this. And this is kind of like what I envision putting on the reel. Um, so just being very specific and capturing those ideas whenever they come and having a process that you do. I probably do this on the daily, actually. I mean, if I don't have any ideas come that day, then I don't. But if I do, it's almost like an automatic thing. It's a habit. I think capturing the idea first is the most important piece, and then also if you're going to use like actual writing in a notebook or on a piece of paper or something like that, kind of adding into that process, organizing it somewhere. With smartphones, you can have like voice controls of like I text myself all the time, voice notes. And so I'll just open up a text message with myself. Like I'll put my own number in and text myself. And honestly, that's probably one of the most efficient ways that I capture my ideas because I know where to find it. I know where to find my text messages. It doesn't get lost in like a bunch of different notes. And then every week at the end, I can kind of scroll through and then like transfer them into a Google Doc or something like that. But I think that might also be helpful for you as far as like expanding on the ideas that you write down that you go back to later and you're like, okay, well, what was I even talking about here? Like, what did that even mean? It might be like a good way for you to expand on that without losing what it was. But yeah, like trialing. And that's the cool thing is like take what works for you and keep doing it. And then add the other layer of implementing a specific time every week where you go and look at all of the ideas that you wrote down and organize them in some way. That's going to be kind of the next thing. So I'd like for you guys to write down your process for capturing ideas and inspiration. So what is it that feels the most natural for you to do? Writing things down in like your dedicated notebooks. And then if you need to expand on an idea, voice dictating yourself a text on your phone. That's the capture part. Opening the notes on your phone and logging it in there. And I would do it as like a checklist. And then whenever you're done with it, check it off. So kind of like giving yourself a little outline of, okay, this is step 1 of my process, capture. And this is what I will use to capture my ideas. Okay, the second piece is organizing your assets. So if you're using a really simple system to capture, like writing things down in a notebook, like using one single note running list in your phone, it can feel a little overwhelming if you don't regularly go back to it and organize those ideas. I'll give you the rundown of how I organize things, like just a broad overview. I have folders in my Google Drive. I have folders or like albums set up inside of my phone because I film a lot on my phone. And then I also have folders in Canva too. And that's how I organize like my images, videos, and Google Drive is kind of where I save a lot of my like written content ideas. And so every week, usually this is every week, I go and I look at my capture systems. So like the DM messages that I send to myself on Instagram, the notes that I keep inside of my phone, and I assign them into where they go in those different folders. So I have a content folder and then I have a bunch of subfolders. I'm not going to overwhelm you guys with the subfolders, but for videos that I'm saving that I'm going to reuse over and over and over again, I have my B-roll folder. I rename all of my files with what the video actually is of, right? So me writing in my journal, me working with my baby, me drinking wine on the patio, like, there's all of these different things so that I don't have to sit there and watch every video to make sure I want to use or to see if I want to use it. Like I actually have some context for what's happening in the video. And if I write a caption that I want to assign to a specific reel, if I've already kind of like made the reel and all I need is to like slap some B-roll in there, I can just like scroll through and see like, oh, I want to do like a video of me working outdoors. And then it also makes it very easy for you to search what you want, right? If you have like a bajillion videos, like I have a lot of videos in here. So obviously, like I'm not going to spend time sitting here scrolling, but it will make it really easy for me to search. So getting into the habit, renaming your stuff so that you know exactly what it is and what's in it. whenever you save videos and images to your Google Drive, it always comes up as like IMG underscore 067, right? And like nobody knows what that is. And so making it really easy for you to search your stuff on Google Drive if you want to store any of your videos and stuff that you're going to reuse. With the organization piece, I think the most important thing is scheduling some time. So like if you can pick a day a week or a day every couple weeks, like have it be pretty frequent where you go in, and because there's no schedule for capturing the ideas. When the ideas hit, you want to capture it right there and then. Like don't wait for that. But with the organizing piece, you want to have like one day a week or one day every couple of weeks where you go into those ideas that you've captured and organize them in a certain way. And that will save you so much time whenever you actually sit down to create your content and plan it out. So organizing videos, organizing like images and stuff like that. Now, as far as organizing your ideas, that's going to be a totally different thing. It's actually what I'm going to talk about next. So this is going to be like your content strategy. So the content strategy is basically like a routine and strategy for what to post and how often. So if you have like content pillars, like the list of maybe 4 to 6 topics that you post about all the time, that is like your routine for posting content. And so whenever we think about organizing the ideas that you put inside of that brain dump note, that's what we would be doing. We would be assigning that idea to a content pillar. The system that I think is the easiest to use here is a simple spreadsheet where you have like a list of your content pillars, and then you take the idea that you brain dumped in that like catch-all note or that notebook or in your text messages, and you put it in this pretty little spreadsheet. Now, planning is different than the strategy, right? Planning is the next step. And it's different from the strategy because it's more like the strategy is more of a blueprint. And then the planning is actually blocking out the time to make executive decisions about what content you're actually going to create, like the specifics of it. So I like to once a month, and you can do this in whatever frequency feels good for you, but like once a month, maybe you guys can do this for 2025. Like if you guys pull out your calendars right now, what day of each month are you going to plan your content? Basically, like we're planning to plan. And the reason I use this and like put this as a totally separate task is because planning takes such a different side of your brain than creating. And so take out your calendars right now and maybe add in, like if you've already scheduled like your CEO days or whatever, like maybe that's when you do this, or you can do it on a totally different day, but like pick a day where you're going to sit down and actually plot the content that you're going to make. I know that sounds so silly, but it is so important. It's like, because whenever you sit down to plan what kind of content you're going to make, you have to totally switch the energy that you're coming from if you're going to sit down and create on the same day. Like creative brain is very different than logical brain. So you want to honor that and make sure you separate those types of tasks so that you're not having to context switch all the time, because that's going to take up a lot of energy. That's going to feed into the overwhelm. The more you can separate those things, the better. So I'll kind of walk through the process again. So we capture, basically brain dump in one location that we can sort through later. And then we have one day a week where we organize. We sort through those ideas. We organize our videos and blah, 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 blah. We're putting everything into like their categories for our posting strategy. And then the planning piece of it is taking the ideas and putting them on a calendar, assigning a date to them. You know what I mean? So that's when we go into our calendar here. And like after we've plotted everything out, like you don't have to do a month at a time. You can just literally do like the next week. Like this can be a weekly process for you if batching for a month of content feels too overwhelming, or even like just a couple days, but at least you have some place to like work ahead. We go in and we take the idea. And do we need to write a caption? Do we need to film a video? Do we need to, this is where we start recording and writing, right? And you can look ahead too if you need to record anything new or pull from something you've already done before. That's when you record and write. and recording and writing without editing. Because we want, like, let's say you want to film like a video of you speaking. You don't have to sit there and edit the video right after you record it. Like, I'm a big fan if I'm going to do like a speaking video, like where I'm talking about like tips or something like that, or like a somatic practice or whatever. I will just like record it on my phone riffing. I'll have the idea, I'll have like my content calendar out so I know like what points I'm making, and then I'll go in and edit it later. But I'm not even worrying about editing or, making it perfect. I'm just worrying about recording it and having the video so that I can edit it later. Same thing with captions or like the things that you want to write. Like, you don't have to format it exactly the way that it's going to be. Like, you just need to get it out and get the storyboard of it out there. And then you can go in whenever you're putting it all together in the next step, whenever you're editing and, putting the text on your reels and adding the captions and the emojis and everything like that and the hashtags. That's a totally separate thing from like raw recording, raw writing. And then also too, like if you're creating content that you're just writing, this can also apply to like, do I need to take a picture? Do I need to assign a picture to this post? Do I need to make something on Canva, right? Like that's something that we do after the raw writing. So we don't want to edit and create at the same time, because then we're going to spend hours doing it. It's going to like waste so much time. And it's context switching again, right? So what I'm trying to hopefully encourage you guys to do is to like break down content creation into all these small tiny little tasks so it feels more doable, rather than like sitting down and creating a post from start to finish, recording the reel, putting the text on it, adding the caption, putting the hashtags, editing it, filtering it, like adding the music. Like, that's a lot of stuff to do in one sitting. A lot. And it's not going to be sustainable for you if that's how you keep doing it over and over again. And so this is hopefully going to help you kind of build a system that allows you to get your authentic, genuine content out there without overwhelming you whenever you sit down to create. So now that we've edited, we've done the raw recording and writing, and then we've done the editing on a different day or at a different time period, this is when we talk about scheduling it out. I would say for scheduling, you already have your stuff on the calendar, so you know what days you're going to post stuff. So the thing with scheduling is making it as easy as possible to just like, with as little clicks as possible, to post your stuff, right? So you had stuff saved in your reel drafts, and if something weird happened with Instagram, you could easily find your stuff again to recreate it and post it. On Facebook and on Instagram, you can schedule content on the native apps themselves. I don't like using third-party apps just because those are always so finicky and weird. I'm a big fan of, like, sometimes I'll schedule ahead of time, but I also just pick a time every day that I go in and schedule the content that I've planned out, like, manually. Most of the time, I've already, like, made a draft of it, and I can just go in and either copy and paste or like just hit publish or hit share. And but whatever way feels easy for you guys. I don't want you guys to get too caught up in the logistics of it. Whatever feels the best. Okay. And then the final thing that I wanted to share with you guys is repurposing, right? So once you guys have plotted out your content calendar and you've created a lot of content already, that's a lot of stuff that you can repurpose. And so I would use that as basically like your bank of ideas. And then whenever you go in for organizing, like organizing things into different categories and things like that, I would take some of those ideas from what you've already written and repurpose them. Or if you have a reel that did really well, or a post that did really well, taking that post, like you write a lot of like really long written posts, right? Taking those and making like a little carousel on Canva that people can swipe through, right? Like that's a really easy way to repurpose content that you've already done and already written. Throw it into a Canva like real carousel. It's the same exact thing, but it's in a different format. So it's going to land with different people. Like some people really love to sit there and scroll through slides on Instagram. That's just like the way, like I love scrolling through slides on Instagram. it makes me feel like I'm like taking a little mini course, like just kind of this flipping through. And then there's like this payoff at the end. So anything that you've written that you have a lot of value packed stuff, like if you offer a lot of tips or you have like a lot of lists that you make inside of your captions, repurposing those for carousels, like making a little pretty carousel on Instagram for them. You could use those captions as scripts for videos. Um, if you're not like a huge video person, that's fine. But like if you are someone who writes a lot of captions, value-based captions, you could also like use those as prompts to like record yourself saying the same thing. Like what you want to do is like not be afraid to be repetitive because likely like people have to hear things multiple times for it to really sink in. So you'll find me talking about the same stuff over and over and over again, just in different formats. So don't be afraid to repurpose some of the stuff that you've already written, especially if like you have a lot of stuff already available to you and using them in different ways. Yeah, that's kind of the last little piece of the content creation process that I wanted to share with you guys. So it's very important to like not get too restrictive with the structure that you set for yourself, right? Like if you set on your schedule that you planned to do more organizing, but you're more in of a creative mode, create, like reassign that time block for something that you feel more in line with your energy because you want if you want your content to come off authentic and to really capture who you are, it can't feel forced. And then the last one, I didn't really talk about too much because it's not super important at the moment, but evaluating. So like once you implement this system and are posting content consistently for like at least 30 days, going in at the end of the month and evaluating your content, how it performed, how much people engaged with it, what you had the most fun doing. That's like another important piece. But yeah, those are the 10 steps. I know that content creation can be like a really big headache point for a lot of people. So the important thing here is to like make it individualized for you, how your brain works. Like for me, I'm very ADHD, so I have things in a lot of different places and that makes sense for me. But if it doesn't work for you, find a way that it does. And if you need to like brainstorm or workshop it, like throw it in our Facebook group. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If this was helpful for you, subscribe to the show to make sure you're always in the loop when a new episode is out. And I would love to invite you to join me in the free Visibility and Tech Support for Coaches community, where we hang out and chat about all things visibility, tech, systems, and heart-centered business building. I regularly share tips and tutorials and go live every now and then, and it's just nice to be in a community with other like-minded coaches and healers. So you can join this free space at alignwellco.com/community, and I can't wait to see you there.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.